the hidden light within the shadows of your soul. Have you ever felt like you were born with something different? Not just a quirk, not just a weird streak. I mean something ancient, something dark, yet powerful. Something that could either destroy you or, if mastered, make you an unstoppable force in this world. If you've ever felt like your inner chaos wasn't a curse, but a calling, this is for you. You see, we live in a world obsessed with light, positivity, good vibes only. But what if I told you that some of the most powerful spiritual beings on this planet are not beings of light, but beings of balanced duality? Beings who have not only walked through the valley of the shadow of death, but danced in it, laughed in it, and became sovereign in it. We're talking about the elite, dark, chosen ones. And if you carry these 5 signs, you just might be one. But before we jump into the signs, I want to set the stage properly. Because this is not a video about ego inflation. This is not another selfie spirituality trend. This is a journey into the sacred underworld of the soul, into the places where angels fear to tread, but where gods are forged. And if you're still watching, I know something, you were meant to hear this. The first sign is something many people try to run from their whole lives. A deep, almost unbearable internal conflict. Not just anxiety, not just stress. I'm talking about the war between your higher self and your shadow. A part of you wants to save the world, and a part of you wants to burn it down. Admit it. But here's what most people don't understand. This duality is not dysfunction. It is divine. The world has fed you the lie that peace is the absence of conflict. But in truth, authentic peace is the mastery of chaos. And those who are called to be elite, dark, chosen ones must first be initiated by their own inner contradictions. Ask yourself this: when was the last time you truly listened to your darkness, not to obey it, but to understand it? Because understanding your darkness is the first step to unlocking your spiritual sovereignty. The second sign is this: you've always felt like an alien, even among your own kin. You were the black sheep, the one who didn't fit, the one who questioned everything. You looked at the world and thought, this can't be it. This can't be all there is. And that's because it isn't. If you've always felt like you don't belong here, maybe it's because you weren't meant to. But here's the twist. The universe doesn't send its elite warriors to the easy realms. It sends them to the hardest timelines, the most unconscious families, the most chaotic societies. Why? Because that's where the greatest catalysts are born. You were not meant to be comfortable. You were meant to awaken. And yes, that comes with pain. Deep emotional pain, betrayals, abandonment, rejection. But the dark chosen one doesn't just survive these things. They transmute them. They take every knife in the back and forge it into a crown. This brings us to the third sign. You carry an ancient rage, not petty anger, not road rage or frustration. I mean a cosmic level dissatisfaction with injustice, ignorance, slavery of the soul. A rage that seems too big for your body. A rage that, if unleashed in its raw form, could destroy everything. But here's the sacred secret. that rage is primordial fire, and fire isn't evil. Fire is purification. Fire is transformation. Fire is the language of divine judgment. The chosen ones are not here to be liked. They're here to burn away illusions. So ask yourself, when was the last time you let your rage speak without guilt, without shame, without apology? Because your rage knows something your conscious mind has forgotten. You came here to challenge the gods of this age. And that cannot be done with soft words and safe prayers. The fourth sign is this: you are both healer and destroyer. You have the power to uplift someone to their highest self, or to completely dismantle them. And you've probably done both, maybe without fully understanding why. This is because your soul carries the coding of the ancient alchemists, those who knew that true healing often begins with destruction. Sometimes you must break the illusion before you can reveal the truth. Sometimes you must shatter the old identity before the soul can emerge. This is not cruelty. This is sacred surgery. But here's the catch. If you don't consciously wield this power, it can become destructive. You might ruin relationships, sabotage opportunities, hurt those you love. That's why your initiation is so intense, because your potential is so vast. The universe will not let you wield such power unconsciously. So I ask you, do you trust yourself to hold both the sword and the salve? The fifth sign is the most paradoxical of all. You are drawn to the darkness, but not consumed by it. You can walk into haunted places, both literal and metaphorical. You can stare into the abyss, and the abyss stares back, and you smile. Because you know something most people don't. The darkness is not the enemy. The darkness is the womb of creation. Every seed is planted in darkness. Every birth begins in the void. Every transformation begins with ego death. And those who fear the dark will never know their own depth. But you're different. You're not afraid of the dark. You're not afraid of your own shadow. You've made friends with it. Sometimes you are it. And that's why you are chosen, not because you're perfect, but because you're whole. And the world doesn't need more perfect people. It needs more whole ones. So if you carry these 5 signs: profound internal conflict, alienation from this world, ancient rage, the duality of healer-destroyer, and a fearless intimacy with darkness, then you are not broken. You are not cursed. You are not lost. You are an elite, dark, chosen one. But don't get it twisted. That title is not a badge. It's a burden. You are here to do the work others run from. You are here to dismantle systems of illusion. You are here to awaken the sleeping lions. And yes, sometimes that means you'll walk alone. That's why I'm making this video, because you're not alone. I've walked that path. I've seen the underworld. I've met the monsters inside me and bowed to their wisdom. I've wept in silence and roared in solitude, and I survived. No, I ascended, and so will you. But here's the real test. Will you claim your power without letting it consume you? Will you become the master of your duality or its slave? Because the elite dark chosen ones are not above karma. They are karma, living, breathing, walking consequences. They are what happens when a soul refuses to stay asleep, and that's why the world fears them. But we do not come to be feared. We come to liberate. So if you're still here, listening, feeling the fire rise in your belly, the tears sting your eyes, the shiver of truth run down your spine, then you know this message is for you. This is your confirmation. Your soul contract is activating, and your time is now. The broken halo, reclaiming power through inner anarchy. If you've made it this far, let me tell you something that most spiritual teachers won't. You are not here to be a saint. You are not here to be a perfect, polished emblem of morality. You are not here to follow every rule and obey every cosmic law like a well-behaved child of light. No, you are here to break systems, not just external ones, but internal ones too. You're here to tear down the invisible prisons inside your mind, the inherited beliefs that have kept you small, afraid, obedient. And that's why your halo had to break. That's why your innocence had to be shattered. Because you cannot become divinely dangerous until you've tasted the chaos within you and survived it. But here's the paradox that only the elite dark chosen ones will understand. Your inner anarchy is not destruction for the sake of destruction. It is sacred rebellion. It is the refusal to be spiritually domesticated. You were not born to fit into anyone's template, not even the spiritual communities. That's why you always felt out of place, even in circles of so-called awakened people. They meditated, you dissolved. They chanted, you summoned storms. They preached love and light, and you brought the mirror. You brought the truth. You brought the silence that made their masks fall off. And it scared them, because you are the disruption that reveals what is real. Let's go deeper. Have you ever noticed that your path always seems to involve chaos? Not just random misfortune, but surgical breakdowns, relationships that collapse at just the right time, jobs that disintegrate the moment you start to compromise your integrity, friendships that vanish the moment you speak your truth. That's not a curse. That's your soul refusing to let you lie to yourself. That's your higher self initiating you into spiritual warfare, not against others, but against your own illusions. You were never meant to settle into comfort. You were meant to evolve through fire. And every time you try to play small or stay safe, your soul will burn the house down until you remember who you are. You see, true power isn't about control. It's about congruence. When your inner world aligns with your outer actions, you become unstoppable. But to get there, you must first go through the deepest kind of death, ego death. And for the dark chosen ones, this death is not a one-time event. It happens again and again, in cycles of rebirth, so intense that it can feel like the universe is trying to destroy you. But it's not. It's trying to refine you. It's trying to strip away everything that isn't essential. Every title, every identity, every belief you clung to for safety. Until what's left is pure, raw, crystalline essence, the real you, the unchangeable you. But let me ask you something real, something raw. When was the last time you allowed yourself to fall apart without trying to fix it? When was the last time you let the pain speak instead of silencing it with spiritual bypassing? Because your brokenness is not a mistake, it is a map. It is the trail of breadcrumbs left by your soul to lead you back to your sovereignty. And the moment you stop trying to be okay and start being real, that's the moment you begin to reclaim your stolen power. That's the moment your broken halo transforms into a crown of fire. And here's the thing, you don't need to wait for anyone to validate your path. You don't need a guru's approval or society's permission. You don't need to be healed first. You don't need to be high vibe all the time. You don't even need to feel ready. The truth is, your readiness was encoded into your suffering. Every wound you carry is a key. Every scar is a sigil. And when you stop dissociating from your pain and start listening to it, you will unlock ancient codes buried in your DNA, the memories from lifetimes where you've been both the priest and the warrior, the healer and the executioner, the savior and the monster. Because you have been all things, and that is your power. So yes, your halo is broken, but it was never meant to be a symbol of perfection. It was meant to be a relic of transformation. A reminder that divinity is not always clean or quiet or pretty, it is raw. It is violent. It is rebirth. And those who carry both the darkness and the light do not walk the same path as others. We are the edge walkers, the system breakers, the soul forgers. And if you're still here, then I know one thing, you've already begun the descent. You've already accepted the invitation. The only question now is, will you rise from your own ashes? Or will you keep waiting for someone else to give you permission to be your full, feral, sacred self? Let's go even deeper now, because what I'm about to say may shatter everything you thought you knew about healing, growth, and power. The world has taught you that the goal of life is to become whole by becoming good, as if goodness is the final form of divinity. But that's only half the story. Wholeness does not come from choosing light and exiling your darkness. Wholeness comes from integration, from embracing every part of you, especially the parts you wish you could hide. You have to let the villain in you sit at the same table as your inner hero. You have to listen to the voice in you that wants to destroy everything, not to obey it, but to understand what it's trying to protect you from. Because often, what we call destruction is actually the soul's desperate cry for freedom. And here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. Sometimes, healing doesn't look like peace. Sometimes it looks like rage, like screaming into the void, like walking away from everything you built because it was never really aligned with who you are. Sometimes, healing looks like betrayal not of others, but of the false self you've been pretending to be. And yes, people will misunderstand you. They'll call you unstable, ungrateful, even dangerous. But that's because your healing threatens their illusions. You're not here to maintain a false peace, you're here to embody true power. And true power comes from the willingness to become unrecognizable to those who only knew the mask. Have you noticed how often you've been punished for telling the truth? How many times you've lost people, opportunities, and even your sense of safety because you dared to speak what others were too afraid to say? That's no coincidence. That's a mark of the dark chosen one. You are the mirror that makes illusions crack. You are the bell that rings in the end of false timelines. You are the storm that comes after years of spiritual drought. And with that power comes a heavy burden, loneliness. Because when you carry this much light wrapped in shadow, most people can't see you clearly. They project onto you. They fear you. They try to tame you. But none of that changes the truth. You were born for this. And maybe you've tried to run from it. Maybe you've tried to shrink yourself, silence yourself, blend in. Maybe you've tried being the good one, the quiet one, the agreeable one. But didn't it feel like dying? Didn't every compromise taste like poison in your mouth? That's because your soul will never be satisfied with safety. It was designed for sovereignty. You cannot unknow who you are. You cannot unsee what you've seen. You cannot go back to sleep once you've looked into the eyes of your own shadow and seen God staring back. You are awake now, in a way that's irreversible. And that's both a blessing and a terrifying responsibility. Because now, your life is no longer about survival. It's about alignment, and alignment requires sacrifice. You will lose things, people, versions of yourself. Your ego will scream. Your inner child will beg. Your nervous system will resist, but your soul will know. It will whisper through every breakdown, keep going. This pain is the price of your becoming. And make no mistake, this path is not for the faint of heart. This is not the path of spiritual influencers and polished Instagram mystics. This is the path of the outlaw mystic, the soul renegade, the divine disruptor. This is the path of those who burn down the old temples not out of hate, but because they were built on lies. But let me ask you something. What would your life look like if you stopped apologizing for your intensity? What if you stopped diluting your truth to make others comfortable? What if you let your full power speak, even if it shakes the walls of the world around you? Because that's what this initiation is asking of you. Not perfection, not politeness, but presence. Fierce, unapologetic, uncompromising presence. The kind that doesn't beg to be understood. The kind that doesn't wait for approval. The kind that simply is because it knows that its very existence is a revolution. The elite dark chosen ones don't just survive their inner chaos, they weaponize it. Not against others, but against ignorance, oppression, stagnation. They use their inner fire to cut through the illusions of the world like a sword through fog. And they do it knowing they may never be thanked, never be celebrated, never be seen for what they truly are. But they do it anyway, because something ancient in them remembers. We are the architects of the new earth. We are the midwives of a dying age. We are the ones who destroy in order to rebuild. And the more you remember this, the less you'll fear your own power. So let this be your permission slip. You do not have to justify your transformation to anyone. You do not have to explain your darkness. You do not have to spiritualize your pain into something palatable. You are allowed to be the wildfire and the waterfall. You are allowed to be the scream and the silence. You are allowed to be the one who doesn't just hold space, but shatters space so something real can be born. And if the world doesn't understand you, good. That means you're doing exactly what you came here to do. There is a sacred boldness that begins to awaken in you the moment you stop asking for permission to exist in your fullness. When you reach that point, when you no longer need to be understood, when you no longer seek to be accepted, you begin to touch the true essence of divine autonomy. And that's what the world fears most. Not evil, not chaos, but a sovereign soul. A being who cannot be manipulated by shame, guilt, or fear. A being who has stood naked inside their own darkness and emerged not as a victim, but as a sovereign creator. That's what you're becoming. And that's why your path has been so brutal. It's been chiseling you into a living symbol of what can't be controlled. You see, the dark chosen ones are not chosen because they are better. They are chosen because they can endure more. They can transmute more pain, carry more fire, hold more truth without flinching. And that isn't glamorous. That isn't always fun. It's lonely. It's exhausting. It's spiritual surgery, over and over, without anesthesia. But it's also sacred, because on the other side of that pain is a kind of freedom most people will never touch. The freedom to no longer need to be anyone but who you truly are. The freedom to say no without explanation. The freedom to walk away from everything that doesn't resonate with your soul and mean it. But here's something important. Your power is not just for you. That's the final test. Will you hoard your clarity, your intensity, your wisdom? Or will you share it even if your voice shakes, even if the world rejects you, even if your truth burns bridges you thought were sacred? Because the ultimate initiation of the dark chosen one is not just surviving the darkness. It's becoming a lighthouse inside it. It's standing tall in your rawness and saying, "This is who I am. Take it or leave it, but I will not dim myself for your comfort." And let's talk about comfort, because you are being called to abandon it. Comfort is the addiction of the asleep. The elite dark chosen ones are not here to be comfortable, they are here to bring disruption. Not recklessly, but with surgical precision. You are here to challenge the narratives that have kept people in chains. You are here to pierce the veil of normalcy and remind others of their sacred madness, the part of them that remembers they are more than their job, their trauma, their image. And to do that, you must first reclaim your own sacred madness. You must reclaim the parts of yourself that don't make sense, that don't look spiritual, that terrify your ego and electrify your soul. So here is a challenge. What would happen if you stopped trying to be spiritually pretty? What if you stopped filtering your fire through politeness? What if you stopped hiding your shadow behind quotes and mantras and just let it roar? Because real awakening isn't always graceful. Sometimes it's volcanic. Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes it looks like letting go of everything you once believed, even if it leaves you in the dark, alone, screaming into the void. But that scream, that's the sound of your soul breaking through the final shell of illusion. That's the birth cry of a real one. And yes, people will try to silence that scream. They will call you too much, too intense, too angry, too unstable. But here's the truth they won't admit. They envy your courage. They envy your freedom. They envy the fact that you are no longer trapped in the psychic cage they still live inside. And that's why they'll try to shame you back into it. But you didn't come this far to turn around. You didn't endure all that pain just to shrink again. You didn't survive your own darkness just to pretend to be normal. You came here to reignite the divine chaos that awakens sleeping souls. And so the final message of this part is simple, but unshakable. You are not broken. You are breaking free. Every part of you that feels out of place is not a flaw, it's a compass. Every emotion that surges through you is not a weakness, it's a weapon. Every truth you speak, even when it costs you everything, is not a mistake, it's a spell. A sacred, sovereign spell cast by a soul that refuses to be enslaved. You are not here to just survive this world. You are here to redefine it. And if that means you walk alone for a while, walk with power. Walk with fire. Walk with your head high and your heart open and your truth louder than the noise of the world. Because in the end, the dark chosen ones are not feared because they are evil. They are feared because they are free. There is a sacred boldness that begins to awaken in you the moment you stop asking for permission to exist in your fullness. When you reach that point when you no longer need to be understood, when you no longer seek to be accepted, you begin to touch the true essence of divine autonomy. And that's what the world fears most. Not evil, not chaos, but a sovereign soul. A being who cannot be manipulated by shame, guilt, or fear. A being who has stood naked inside their own darkness and emerged not as a victim, but as a sovereign creator. That's what you're becoming. And that's why your path has been so brutal. It's been chiseling you into a living symbol of what can't be controlled. Wielding the night flame. How to use your darkness as sacred technology. So here you are. You've survived the descent. You faced the mirror and didn't look away. You've watched the persona crumble, the illusion shatter, the scaffolding of your false self fall to the ground like ash. And now, standing in the silence after the storm, you feel something ancient stirring within you. A force, a frequency, a fire that doesn't consume, it transmutes. This is what I call the night flame. It is the sacred technology of the elite dark chosen one. It is not just your pain. It's not just your trauma. It's the raw, alchemical fuel of your soul's true power. And the question is, are you ready to wield it? Because here's the truth, most people never reach this point. They spend their lives running from their shadows, avoiding discomfort, numbing their fear with distraction, validation, or fake spiritual serenity. But you didn't run. You turned around. You faced it. And now you're not just someone who has been through the fire, you are the fire. But the fire alone isn't enough. Fire can burn or build. It can destroy or forge. The difference is in how you wield it. And that is where most people fail. They awaken the flame, but they never learn how to shape it. Wielding the night flame requires discipline, not external obedience, but internal mastery. You must become the blacksmith of your own soul. You must learn to take your rage and refine it into clarity. You must take your grief and transmute it into compassion. You must take your desire to destroy and channel it into purpose. This is not repression. This is alchemy. And alchemy is not a metaphor here. It is literal. Your nervous system, your breath, your intention, your presence, these are your instruments. This is how you turn shadow into gold, rage into medicine, chaos into clarity. But only if you are willing to stop judging your darkness and start listening to it. So ask yourself, what is my anger trying to create? What does my pain want me to see? What is my jealousy pointing me toward that I've forgotten belongs to me? Because every so-called negative emotion is actually a messenger. And the dark chosen ones are not here to silence the messengers. We are here to decode them. Your darkness is not your enemy. It is your oracle, your sacred technology. Your personal underworld is filled with data that can't be accessed through books, gurus, or affirmations. It can only be accessed by you, in the silence, in the solitude, in the ritual of being radically honest about what you feel, what you fear, and what you want. And this is where your real power begins, not in controlling others, but in decoding yourself. Because once you know how to read your own darkness, no one can manipulate you ever again. You stop being reactive. You stop being fragile. You stop being a puppet of your subconscious. Instead, you become a living oracle. You begin to speak with the authority of someone who has met the gods, died in their presence, and returned with the fire of truth in your eyes. People will feel it. They won't know what to call it, but they'll know they're in the presence of someone who cannot be lied to. And that's why the world tries to silence people like you, because your presence disrupts the illusion. But let's be clear, this isn't about becoming invincible. It's about becoming uncorruptible. You will still feel, you will still bleed, you will still break, but you will not betray yourself. And that's the real mark of a soul who has mastered the night flame. They are not cold. They are pure heat. They are not numb. They are deeply alive. They are not perfect. They are whole. And that wholeness becomes a kind of gravitational pull. You start to attract people, experiences, and synchronicities that match your frequency, not because you're manifesting through toxic positivity, but because you've become a magnet for truth. And the more you walk in this frequency, the more you will notice something strange. You begin to smell lies. You begin to see through masks. You begin to notice the energetic signature of manipulation, even in its most subtle forms. You begin to hear the silence behind people's words, the wounds they're hiding, the truth they're afraid to admit. And here's the sacred responsibility that comes with that. You must not use it to control. You must use it to liberate. The dark chosen ones are not here to build empires on the backs of the broken. We are here to awaken the sleeping lions. And that means we must lead by example, not through dominance, but through embodiment. So I challenge you now, how can you embody your shadow in a way that heals instead of harms? How can you walk as a living paradox, both fierce and soft, both open and discerning, both wild and wise? Because that is the real mastery. Anyone can swing a sword, but only the chosen ones know when to sheath it. And more importantly, why? You are not here to be a spiritual weapon. You are here to be a sacred force of liberation. And that means every time you face your own darkness, you are clearing space for others to face theirs. Every time you stop running and start listening, you are shifting the collective field. Every time you choose integrity over validation, truth over comfort, soul over ego, you send a ripple through the grid. And that ripple becomes a wave. And that wave becomes a storm. And that storm becomes a revolution. Not just out there, but in here. This is what it means to wield the night flame. Not to burn the world down in bitterness, but to light the torch for those still lost in their own night.